Good morning and welcome to a new episode of The Check-In, the little now daily section of the Framework podcast where we go into someone's house and we check in on one of the frameworkers to see how they're doing, whether they're surviving and whether they're keeping sane most of all. This morning we have James Patterson. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I think I've said it like a million times, but as long as I can keep on recording these videos and I can check in with people and chat with people, I feel like I can get through this. If this was to be taken away from me, I would start going insane.
Bad things would happen, not just you.
Absolutely. Crawling up the walls, like not wearing anything during the day, not washing, it would all go down the drain.
Yeah, at least
Horrible.
not wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah, true.
Like clothing on.
Honestly, and I know I'm talking to a fellow person of facial hair, but and a glorious one at that, might I add. But no, the thing is that, for example, we're doing this the framework drinks every Friday, right? And you've taken part in all of them. And the funny thing is that is the one cue I have during the week to figure out, first of all, what day of the week it is. And second of all, that I have to shave. If not, it would take me, 2 months to get to where you are without looking so beautiful, though.
Yeah. So you shave. That's true. I don't. Yeah. That's the benefit of having a gigantic beard.
Yeah, but it's great.
Shit to it.
Do you feel how haven't you succumbed to one of those feelings of I'm going to do something crazy during quarantine and just shave off my beard or shave off my hair and all of that?
No chance. It took so long to grow this thing. Get it to this volume. I don't want to go through that effort again. At some point, I'm sure I'll get that. I go through that life change every few years where I'm I need a new look.
Yeah.
So it'll come. Although the later I leave it, the more likely it is I'm going to go bald on top. So I need to take that into account.
I don't know how you're what you're suggesting. It feels like you're saying it's a bad thing. I don't understand. I can't compute.
It depends on the person. I don't want it. Looks great on you. I've got a bad shaped head for it. I shaved my head once when I was in high school, and I've got a long and lumpy head. It's just not a good looking head for baldness. Some guys just had a nice round symmetrical head, case in point. Yeah.
I was very lucky. The day I realized that I was losing most of my hair, I kind of looked at myself at the mirror and went could have gone worse.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Could have had my head. Disaster.
So, James, how is this period affecting you? I know you're a tutor and you teach to mostly international students. So I am guessing, but I don't know for sure. I'm guessing you teach English.
Yes.
Sweet. Point for me.
Definitely
sorry?
Definitely not maths.
Yeah. No one wants to learn maths, let alone in a different country. You fled your own country to change your life. You don't want to start again with math for sure.
Going back to calculators.
But you also write a lot.
Yeah. I'm pretty pedantic about my schedule, but that's because I have multiple very different projects going on. So I write, my mornings are for writing. I'm working on my second novel at the moment.
Cool.
On the third draft of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
you're a real writer.
Well, no, nobody pays me to do it. So I feel reluctant to call myself a writer until that.
Doesn't matter. If you're saying I'm working on the third draft of my second novel, I think that's buzz talk for I'm a proper writer. I earned the badge of writing. I'm up there with all the Murakamis and all of the other ones.
Right, I'm basically Hemingway.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, actually. Yeah, I am. You know what? I am a writer. Yeah.
Yes. Good.
So I do that in the mornings. That's sort of the thing I would like to do most. It's also one of the hardest ways to make money. Even authors who are published and well read often have second jobs. There's almost no authors do it as full-time living.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm trying to work into my routine to get that out of the way before 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And that way, however I continue to make my money in the future, the rest of my day can be available for that. And writing can just be that nice wake up sort of early morning before the world is up kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like saying that, obviously, I just mentioned Murakami because he's my favorite author, but also one of the few ones that I've read most books from. I'm a horrible reader. There is an episode we recorded of a check-in where I talk with Tamsian and we talk about books, and I'm like, I shouldn't be talking about this. I read 3 books in the last 5 years. I should really shut up.
Yeah, but you read Murakami is such a cult figure. Like
Yeah,
he's like a reader's author.
yeah.
So I think that counts for if you've read 7 of Murakami's books, it's like you've read 70.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
I don't know, I've kind of made that up. Remember,
Yeah.
I'm not good at maths. But
Well, I read most of his books, and it's mostly because I was studying Japanese in university. So, like, it was my window into a world and a country and a culture that I didn't know. I was studying the language, but I wanted to know a bit more about it. And one of the books that I stumbled upon is called The Art of Running, where he talks about his process. And I don't know, I never found any other person that would say what you just told us, which is writing in the morning, like making sure, having a routine, having discipline, and going like, okay, I wake up at 7, I start writing at 8, at 10 o'clock, I put down my pen, and that's it. Like, that is what I need as a process. And I think it's very important as a creative. So are you managing to like keep that process intact during these weird times?
yeah, you know what? I feel like I'm leveling up at the moment. I remember.
Whoa.
I know it's so. A couple of weeks ago at the Friday drinking session, I remember someone asking, "How's everyone doing?" And I guess I just didn't think about it, but I'm actually doing very well. Not financially necessarily, but I don't know. It really, I found this just cleared away other concerns. You know,
Nice.
it's like it's like now I have an excuse to focus on nothing but improving the things in my life that I thought maybe were holding me back, or especially regarding habits. So I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of months trying to develop better habits and reduce the impact of my worst habits, and it's been pretty good. So I said in the month of, what was it, March,
Yeah.
I just told myself every day, wake up at 6. Like that's your goal. You don't have to do anything else necessarily. But the month will be a success if you do that. And yeah, I've woken up at 6 every morning since. And so I'm adding a new habit every month. That's the idea. So now I have cold showers. That started last month. This morning sucked, by the way. It was awful. Some mornings are worse than others.
Yeah. Well, but like the benefits are incredible, right? You're
Yeah.
like immensely energized, even just for the thermal shock.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that say there are some health benefits to it. I don't know if that's the case. I feel like that could easily be one of those sort of health urban
Myths.
legends. Yeah. But what I do like about it is that it's not comfortable, and that's the point. That I have to do this uncomfortable thing every day, and just to internalize that discomfort is actually not that bad.
I adore you. I love you. I say this all the time.
Yeah, right.
I'm not the best at doing it. Like I find I enjoy being uncomfortable in certain situations. So there is like a controlled uncomfortableness kind
Yeah,
of thing. But there is so much to learn in just like throwing yourself in.
yeah,
And it like everything else, like creativity, like thoughts, like everything, it's a muscle and you have to train it. The
yeah,
more you're trained to be uncomfortable, the better you're equipped to like things that you don't expect.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, that being comfortable, yeah, you have to. If you have a life of no comfort, that's just chaos. So you don't want that. You can't live a totally chaotic life. But you don't grow in comfort.
Yeah.
The only time you ever learn or grow is when things go wrong. When things aren't working the way, they're not optimal, they're not totally out under your control. Because that's when you have to figure out how to get more control. So to me, the way you grow, or the way I want to grow, is to push, make myself uncomfortable, get comfortable at that, and then do it again.
Yeah.
Like just keep doing that.
Well,
That's
isn't there
like,
like a famous saying? I think it's like a Yiddish saying about
can't
how
go wrong with a good
lobsters.
Yiddish saying.
No, but like about lobsters, and that's how they grow. So lobsters have to like to get a better shell and grow. They have to break their shell, and they have to break it from the inside. So the process of becoming an adult and becoming like the complete, technically, version of yourself
Yeah,
is to push, find yourself uncomfortable, break the shell, and create a new situation where you create a new shell, and having that process go over and over and over again.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us in this creative, trying to live this creative life, are probably by virtue of the difficulties of those industries, accustomed to that kind of life in
Yeah.
some way. Because first of all, you can't get better as an artist without doing
You can't get better as a person without it. And
it.
if you're
Yeah,
not a better person, you can't become a better artist.
yeah. I mean, it affects every facet of your life: relationships, career, creativity, basically everything. And there was a long period in my life where I was not doing that. I was overly comfortable, and it was awful. It's hell basically. You because you just sort of feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Everything seems scary. Um, so yeah, this has been really good for me just to start to really habitualize some of the things I've been more haphazardly adding to my life until now. And now, like, all right, well, there's nothing else to do. And I just gone through a breakup when it all started as well. So I just had like despair and all this time, and so I sort of had no choice. And it's actually been I don't like to say it because obviously COVID's affected so many people in negative ways, but it's been I don't know, it's been quite a blessing for me.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like I've done
amazing.
well out of it.
And also like
Yeah,
that is so valuable. Like one of the reasons I love doing these check-ins is because there is so much insight that you can get out of people that are part of our community. And we're all like crazy weird artists. There is some ones that are like more tame creatives and some others that are just completely like
wild.
batshit crazy. And right there you find so much different insight on how things work. And in this situation that affects us all equally, more or less.
Yeah,
But at the same time that shows us like presents itself with a lot of challenges, seeing how other people like thrive or crush under those situations, it's amazing. And I think like it's invaluable in that sense. I found personally that one, I like uncomfortability and I'm pretty much okay with it, as in like I like throwing myself to things. But one of the things that like really makes me like really makes my day problematic is the lack of unpredictability. Everything is predictable. Like I
right.
know how my day is gonna go. I know
Yeah,
how like what are the struggles that I'm gonna like run into. I know like how I'm gonna feel if I feel sad. Like the days that start in a certain way, I know that I'm not gonna be as energetic. All of that. Whereas I love and I get energized by chaos. By I don't know what happens when I leave that door.
yeah,
But
right.
it's different. And I'm learning, as you're saying, I'm learning new little things. And for example, is to find, not to find a way to bring myself up to like the most psyched or the most energetic I've ever been, but to manage a threshold for
Mm,
the low times.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like I'm working on my bottom end and like lifting it up a little bit. So
yeah,
when it goes to like shit, it's still better than it used to be. And so from there on, I can build as soon as they open that door and I can leave and like run outside,
and take
then
feels with
I
you.
can work with a better base.
Mm. I'm wondering that do you follow any sort of Stoic philosophy at all?
I would like to sound very clever, but well, I studied philosophy when I was in high
Yeah,
school and in university and all of that. Like it was part of my curriculum. But if you like gun to the head, if you ask me like, hey, name one Stoic philosopher, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna die.
John's Stoic.
Like what do you mean by that? Like what do you
Well,
follow?
the reason I raised it was just because you're talking about this sort of. It's struck me as being very similar to the idea of maybe this word you recognize this word from Italian because Latin tranquilitas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the core tenet of Stoic ethics is that you're not seeking pleasure as much as you are. Your goal in life should be to seek more like peace.
Yeah.
To be able to level yourself out under the strain of, negative emotions that are pulling you this way and that. And it struck me as, sounds like that's sort of what you're trying to do, is to try to maintain some degree of detached control when your emotional state is taking over. So I was just wondering if that's something you studied, because a lot of people, it's a very popular these days. It's very popular philosophy, sort of coming back into.
Well, like I inadvertently stumbled upon it then, because it's not something that I recently like read up on or like studied. But at the same time, like, yes, I am incredibly in a normal situation without a coronavirus like thing outside the front door.
Yeah.
I am very much a pleasure seeker, 100%. Like I am driven by like looking for the next thing that is going to give me the next high.
Hedonist.
Huh?
Hedonist.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But in this situation, you kind of have to like, the rules have changed. So you have to like readjust. I think that like certain things, if you fight them, if you have this illusion of control and you keep on fighting them and you try to like mold them into what you want them to be, then you're using an insane amount of energy for no purpose.
Yeah, you can't control it.
Exactly. So you have to go with the flow, and going with the flow doesn't mean enjoying it necessarily. It's not this state of mind where you go like, well, I now go with the flow. So like if you hit me with a car, I'm going to love it. No, but I'm going to find, if I get hit with a car every day, I'm going to find a way to make that hitting affect me less. So when I'm not hit by a car, I feel better.
Dude, man, I just said dude and man in the same sentence. That's weird.
I am both.
Man, it's a great superhero name. I wonder, and you say you're not into reading, but I'm going to recommend a book to you. Just
do it. Yes.
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
Because you could have simply taken what you just said and paraphrase it from a Stoic text. The idea of not being in control. Basically, the idea is that you should focus only what you can control. And part of that means realizing that most things you cannot control. You can really only control your reaction to things. You can't control what other people do. You can't control the environment. You can't control what's happening in the world outside you. So what you can control is how you respond to that, how you interpret that information. If you feel like reading something, I don't know, maybe that'll be right up your alley. I don't know.
Absolutely. And also, like, I'm already thinking audiobook. I'm sure someone read it.
It's on there, definitely. Probably multiple versions, I would imagine.
But absolutely. And I tried like not to talk too much about myself during these check-ins, because it's supposed to be about the other person. Like everyone's wondering like, how are you doing and stuff? But I think we landed on such a good spot that I would like to share like a little personal story. And it's based on my tattoos. So I have 2 tattoos, and one is a crow, actually a hawk that says flow. And the other one is just the letters do more. And the reason, like the first one, the hawk one, happened when I was cycling the length of Japan, and every day we saw a hawk. And it started with my best friend. We started as a joke, and we said like, oh, it's the same hawk. It's following us. And so because we were completely improvising everything, we had no plans, no route, no maps, nothing. We would just go. And we said like, well, yesterday we saw the hawk and everything was fine. So if we see the hawk today, it means that we can do whatever we want and we will be fine. So it kind of created this idea of don't give in into the illusion of control. You don't know what is going to happen. Open yourself to it. So now we both have this tattoo that is the same, and it's a picture of the hawk that we refer to, that I took, and then we turned it into a drawing. So now we see it every day. So every day we see it, and every day it's going to be fine. So you don't have to control things, just go with the flow.
It's the hawk of tranquillitas.
Very much. And his name in Italian is Zuppiero, which translates to soup Peter for some reason. We're dumb. But the other one, it says do more, because I felt after like a year and a half of having this tattoo that yes, you don't have to control things. You don't have to give into this illusion. But at the same time, you can action on things. You can decide how much output, you can decide how much you interact with things. And if you can, you should do more, because the more you do, the more you enter in this territory of unknown. The more you push things, the more they go into something that you couldn't predict. And that's where like magic happens, to me at least, in creativity and in photography. And I feel like it's exactly like what we were talking about in a sense.
It's interesting you say that there's, because there is a bit of a tension there between the flow, or going with the flow, or sort of living in harmony with just the order of existence. And then there does feel like there's a bit of a passivity there. And there have been people who, other philosophers, for example, and academics, who complained about Stoicism being or leading people to passivity. So it's interesting that you thought about that, because, again, this is one of the things that Stoics have to sort of grapple with. How do you blend the idea of staying equanimous, like level, letting the world do what it does, not being pushed around, and not trying to chase this desire that way in every which direction, but also take action, find success, improve yourself. So I think that's quite curious that you've been asking yourself the same questions for some period of time. It just goes to show that we've been asking the same questions of ourselves for
hasn't humanity done that since the dawn of time?
Yeah, I think so. At least since the dawn of civilization, when we started living in sedentary agrarian societies.
Yeah.
The idea set in sort of tribal, I'm getting a bit nerdy here, but the idea set in sort of tribal hunter-gatherer society is probably quite different, just because it's not a sedentary life. So
yeah,
but I think certainly in a society where work is divided by industry, and there's sort of nuclear families, and you're supposed to have success, and you're supposed to care a lot about status, and so many things pulling you every which direction. It's not a surprise that we've been trying to calm ourselves down for 5,000 years. Otherwise, it's just so confusing.
Yeah, pretty much. And I feel like the moment your survival, it's not the main focus of your actions. That's when like you have time to think about all of this stuff, and you have like time to appreciate and find solutions for the problems that you have. Whereas like if you're running from a tiger, like I don't want to make it like an example of like, oh, you're a caveman and there's a tiger, but like that's the only animal I could think of right now because I've just seen Tiger King. Yeah. But if you're running from a tiger, you don't really have time to think, how am I going to calm myself down?
Yeah.
You're like a ball of adrenaline and you're just running. Yeah. Whereas there are certain moments where you can't sleep, you're looking at the ceiling or the stars and you go like, okay, how do I make myself feel better now?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, so, like it's often spoken of how there's this weird thing that happens that wealthy, not just Western countries, actually, you probably chuck Japan and Korea in here, but basically affluent countries have much higher rates of mental illness than poorer countries. I don't think that's surprising at all, because you just, all those existential questions that you get, if you think about someone like me, I have everything I need materially and more. And compared to 99% of people on Earth, I'm royalty. Like, this is basically a mansion. And so I've got all the material I need and then some. And yet we can still be so fucking miserable. And it's not clear in our state what to do about that. Like, if you're miserable in a really poor environment where you barely have enough food to get by, you've got one solution that's very evident. It might not be easy to get, but it's less confusing in a sense. You need to get fucking money. Like, you need a house.
And it solves the problem.
Yeah, you might not have the tools to be able to solve the problem, but the solution is relatively simple to understand. Whereas when you have all that stuff, where's the easy answer? And so then you end up just with people trying to almost to make answers up, because there's not such a concrete thing out there available to just point at and go, if I just get more of that. But we play that game, like, or just more money. But it doesn't work here because, it's not actually filling some hole that's missing. That's already been filled.
Yeah, your brain goes by approximation. And so it thinks like, what is the thing that I think will give me the most solutions, that will give me the most pleasure out of like resolving this problem? And it's like more status, more money, more things. And you fool yourself into ending that discussion very quickly. And I feel like, again, with creatives, there is a bit, especially in photographers, we call it gear acquisition syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically like every time you say like, oh, but if I had that, that would make my pictures better. Or if I bought that light, the quality of it would be so much better. And so you're not exploring the real problem. You're just finding a solution that is not achievable at the moment. And so your discussion is finished because you're just like, oh, well, I reached an impasse. I don't have that thing that will allow me to solve the problem, hence done.
I have to do something. So, because we're problem solvers by nature. So you have to come up with a solution. That's the immediately obvious one. But another thing you get from sort of reading ancient philosophy, which I think is very interesting, I think it's a really helpful way to think about, let's say you want to buy a piece of new equipment.
Yeah.
And you think that you really want that piece of equipment. That's what you want. But actually, what you want is not the thing. What you want is to change your internal state. That's
100%.
You want to satiate a desire. So, and that's why it can be a computer for one person and a car for another. It's because or some sexual interest that you're chasing but you can't get. It's that the feeling of what you're chasing is actually not the thing, and that's why when you get the thing, you're like, well, I got the thing, but I'm still not satisfied. Well, you weren't actually after the thing. You were after feeling better in some way. You had a desire. Your desires over the thing, the object of your desire is over here, and it feels good to bridge the gap. But once the gap is bridged, the feeling good is over. As soon as the gap is bridged, because it's just this illusion we have.
And then a new desire happens. And you have a new gap to bridge, for sure.
Yeah. It's another Stoic thing. Is reducing desire, basically. It's to not make that the main operating system. Again, I think that's very helpful.
I will look for that book. And I hope like everyone that is watching this will like have a look at that, because I feel like there is so much interesting stuff like in this kind of philosophy. It's
cool because it's not written like other philosophical texts. It's not a treatise. It's not like technically inaccessible. It's not full of bizarre jargon. It's not like reading Aristotle or something. It's just this emperor who was a Stoic and wrote himself a diary every night. That's it. It's just his journal. So it's incredibly readable. It's just this really powerful guy reminding himself of what matters, how to handle himself in certain situations and things like that. That's awesome. It's really cool. Food for thoughts, for sure. Yeah. I'm going to ask you one last thing, and then we have to wrap it up because my camera battery is dying. Okay. So that's crucial. But like the only thing is I was really interested in you implying a new change and like some new habit. As you said, like the cold showers and the waking up at 6 a.m. And so 2 questions. The first one is, do you think you will want to keep these new habits as we come out of this situation? And 2, what is the next one you want to implement? Because we're like, it's almost May. So it is. So I'm glad you asked, because nobody else gives a fuck. I do. Tell somebody. Right. Yeah. So these ideally, okay, the plan is 12 months of habits. Amazing. Even thinking about possibly writing a book afterwards, but I'll see if I have enough to work with. But I could see maybe enjoying writing a book there. So I've done the first 2. They are intended to be things that stick around, at least until now. Maybe if I run out of ideas later, I'll have to get flexible on that. But yeah, I want to keep waking up early. That's something I wanted to do for a very long time and just couldn't do. And I achieved it doing one thing. I took my alarm clock away from the bedside table, and I put it in the corner of the room so I have to get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a charm. Cold showers, yeah, I think I'll keep them unless maybe I just can't handle really cold showers in the middle of a really cold winter. Maybe then, but even then, I want to see if I can do it.
Yeah.
And the final one is to sit down and read at least one page of a book every night.
Great.
Yeah. Hopefully that turns into more pages, but I want to keep it all easy to start with so I don't get disheartened. Just one page of a book every evening. That's something I definitely want to keep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And is that the one for May? Is that your new habit? Yeah.
It starts tomorrow. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh man, I'm so excited for you because I think that like this daily changing of things, it's really important. Like introducing new habits and habits that like you thought out and thought positive. It's amazing. Even just the number this might be doing to your head in terms of positivity is insane.
Yeah, I think that might be the number one thing, actually.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us, man. I can't wait to see you again in person and like chat more about like stoicness and when my beard will look like yours, we are then allowed to rejoice.
It will look like yours. We'll just be friends.
I'll take that. Have a good day, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Ciao.